What's up, guys? We're going to do some SQL. Let's get into it. So here we have a question, sellers with no sales. It looks like we have three different tables, customer, orders, and seller. And here in our customers table, we have a primary key of customer ID. And as it says here, customer ID is the column with the unique values for this table. So customer ID is our primary key, and it has a customer name per row. And here we have our order ID in our orders table, which is our primary key. And we have two foreign keys, customer ID and seller ID. And in our sellers table, we have a primary key of seller ID. And that seller ID has a seller name associated with it. Let's see. It's asking us to write a solution to report the names of all the sellers. So all the sellers, their names, who didn't make any sales in 2020. So we want to return the seller name in ascending order. So our seller name should be sorted from top to bottom. And here's an example. Here's our customer table, our orders table, and seller table. And as we can see here, based on the question that it's giving us, we don't really need our customer table. It's not really relevant because we just need to look at our seller table and the orders that were made, and we need to look at all the sellers who made a sale in 2020, right? So our customers don't really mix into this question. So we can just kind of ignore the customer table right now. Sorry. So basically looking at this, we're going to want to do some kind of join between our tables. In this case, if we had someone here named Amy and they made no sales in our orders table, that would still count as not making a sale in 2020, right? So we're going to want to get everyone from our sellers table and join it with our orders table, even if they're, they didn't make any orders, right? So in that case, we would do a left join, right? So here, let's draw a picture of our two tables. So we have our sellers table, our orders table, and we don't want to just get the intersection of these two tables, right? Because then Amy would be left out from this larger table we're making, right? We want to get all the sellers, so we want to do a left join, not just an inner join. So we'll do a left join here between seller and orders. And say we did a left join, what would that look like? Well, say we have Daniel, and Daniel made one sale in 2020. And we have Elizabeth, who made 3 sales. So Elizabeth, and she had a sale in 2020. Elizabeth had a sale in 2020. And she had another sale in 2019. And then we have Frank, who made a sale in 2019. And, if we had Amy in this table, we would have Amy, and she would have basically no sales, right? So it would be null. So, this is like one table we're making, right? And we would want to, there's 2 ways to work with this table that we've made after our left join, right? We could do an aggregation, so we could count up all the sales that were made per person in 2020. So we could do like some kind of sum. So we would check. Okay, so Daniel made 1 sale in 2020. Elizabeth made 2 sales in 2020. Frank made no sales in 2020, and then Alice made no sales in 2020 as well. Or we could do like a where statement. So we could say, okay, anyone who had a sale in 2020, we could just hold on to them. So we'd have Daniel made a sale in 2020. Elizabeth made a sale. Elizabeth made another sale in 2020. And Frank made no sales. Alice made no sales. So we would have this. We could like make it distinct. So we would just have Daniel and Elizabeth. And this could be another table that we then query, right? We could then say, okay, let's look at our sellers table again. And anyone who is not in this list, we should return, right? So then that would give us Frank and Amy, right? And yeah. So we can then let's start coding. So the first way is to do an aggregation, right? So we could do a select seller, and we would get our seller ID. Make this look better. We'll do a left join on our orders table. And we're going to join it on our seller ID. And let's just take a look at that. We'll get 5 rows. We'll need a comma here. So, as you can see, we have a table with 5 rows, right? Daniel, Elizabeth made 3 orders, Frank made 1 order. And we want to then get our, let's just take a look at our orders, order sale date. So as you can see, Daniel made an order in 2020. Elizabeth and Frank are the only two that who didn't make or made an order in 2019, but Elizabeth had some orders in 2020. So let's do our aggregation function. So we can do sum, and then we could do a case statement, right? So we could do case when we can then extract year from our sale date. And then end that, and then we'll call that count. Whoops, we have to then group it, right? So group by our seller ID and seller name. So as you can see here, Frank has 0, Daniel has 1, and Elizabeth has 2. So this could be a table that we then query from again. So we could do select seller, we could select our seller ID from and then we could do a where count equals 0. And then we also need to order it. Order by seller name in ascending order. Oh, whoops. Oh, okay. We need to return the seller name, not the ID. Okay, so this method worked. Let's try it the other way, where we are just doing a where, not an aggregation, and we want to see who made any sales in 2020. So we could do it like this. We don't need this group by. We could do where extract. So extract is a way we can extract the year from a date or any other field, like the day or month. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Oh, oops. So as you can see, only Daniel and Elizabeth made sales in 2020. So we would want to get our distinct seller ID. So we have these two seller IDs, and then we could do another select statement to query this larger table. So we could do seller name from seller where seller.seller ID is not in and then we want to order it order by so this looks good and this worked. So hopefully you learned something in this video. Basically there are multiple ways to do this question, and hopefully you learned something about joins and how you can build a table and then query that table. Thanks a lot.